Blue Ink by Elizabeth Scarhart and Snowball the Snowflake. Illustrated by Snowball the Snowflake. Narrated by Elizabeth Scarhart. Chapter 6. Across the Multiverse. Undyne's plan was simple in concept, if complicated in practice. Ink told her that there were various points across the world that linked this universe with other universes, including the Antivoid. Undyne created a number of machines that did the opposite of what the bike did. They were disguised as normal objects that would be found in each place, Ink pointed out. From there it was just a matter of placing them and turning them on, which Papyrus and Sans did. Sans got the Royal Guard involved as well, so that they could ensure the devices were always on and functional while on patrol. Ink soon began to feel the effect of the devices as they were made and placed one by one. Each time one was activated, it got notably harder to enter the swap verse. But he was careful not to let Sans know of this. Sans was still overjoyed every time they met, and Ink wanted to keep it that way. Seeing Sans so happy made him feel happy. Still, he knew he had to tell him the truth. It wouldn't be fair for him to just stop coming with no explanation. After weeks, the last device was ready to be put into place. Ink approached Sans.
Hey, we've been working really hard on these. You want to take a break?
A break? Ink, we're so close!
Sans exclaimed.
We can take a break when we're done.
I agree with Ink, Undyne said. We should call it a day. There's an anime special I want to watch starting in a few minutes anyway. I could use a smoke break myself. I'm all for a break, Papyrus agreed. Undyne had told him about Ink's dilemma. Papyrus had agreed not to say a word.
Fine, I know what I'm outvoted.
Sans sighed. Ink grinned.
Come on. I still need to have a ride on your motorbike. Well, conscious anyway. Besides, I want to show you something.
What about Error?
Sans asked.
I'm pretty sure he's recovered by now.
We'll keep the ride in the Antivoid short, and I'll protect us.
Ink promised.
Please, Sans, I really want to ride it, and what I have to show is nothing short of amazing.
Sans shrugged, and the two headed back to Snowdon where the motorbike was. The two mounted, Ink sitting behind Sans.
You holding on tight?
Sans looked back as he started up the engine. Ink nodded, and Sans pressed the button that opened the way into the Antivoid. He rode through, Ink's scarf whipping in the air. Ink grinned, holding on tighter to Sans. This really was fun. He'd never gone so fast in his life. After letting Sans ride around blindly for about 10 minutes, he navigated Sans to the zipper. The two dismounted, and this time carefully brought the motorbike in with them as to not be detected again.
That was so much fun!
Ink was all smiles.
Undyne really left you wanting for nothing for transportation to the Antivoid.
Yeah, Undyne never holds back when it comes to inventing. There's a good reason she's the royal scientist. Anyway, what did you want to show me?
Sans asked.
It's this way.
Ink waved Sans to follow him. He led to a locked door which Ink unlocked with the handle of his paintbrush. Inside was white, like the rest of the Antivoid, but with endless papers spiraling around slowly. On them, Sans could see humans and monsters, doing about everything, often dressed in certain ways. Some of them looked like people he knew, others didn't.
What is this?
This is where I keep tabs on everything. Each of these papers has a record of one of the countless universes and timelines there are. This is what Error wants to destroy. This is what I protect.
Ink told him.
I want to show you the universes, and well, I can't say yes to all of these, as some of them are a bit hostile, but I figured you could pick any you particularly wanted to see.
I thought you used paint to visit universes.
Sans said, forcing him to turn away from the papers all around him and look at Ink.
I do. This is more of documentation.
Ink explained.
Once you choose a few, we'll return your motorbike back to your universe, and then I'll get us to all the other universes in the way only I know how.
Sans was there for 30 minutes choosing, before he finally settled on a handful of papers. He showed them to Ink, who only said no to 2 of them, and wrote down the names of the others on his scarf so he'd remember which ones to take him to. Sans returned his motorbike to the swap universe, and the two set off by paint. The first universe he showed him had 2 skeleton dogs playing together in the woods while a kind-hearted version of Rilby watched them. Ink and Sans hid in a tree. At one point, Ink painted a ball and threw it down to the dogs. The first one tackled it without a single thought, happily rolling around in the snow with it. The bigger one seemed more suspicious. It arched its back, and much to Sans' amazement, became a much younger version of Sans. Sans then took the smaller dog off, scolding it gently. The smaller dog whimpered, but also shifted into a young Papyrus. Sans watched in amazement, wishing he and Papyrus could do that. Next, Ink showed him the underwater world Ink had saved before all this started, painting air bubbles and flippers for himself and Sans, of course. Sans smiled, seeing a beautiful version of Queen Toriel with a long, shimmering fishtail wander about her home in some ruins. She apparently knew Ink because Ink greeted the Queen as a friend and told her a few jokes, making her laugh. Sans was also introduced and told a few jokes to the good-humored Queen. Then Ink took Sans to what looked like a giant laboratory. It seemed abandoned at the moment, but Ink told Sans that was because the test subjects were currently resting. He then grabbed two gun-like objects and handed one of them to Sans. Ink shot at two different walls, and two portals opened up, allowing Ink to exit through one side of the room and enter through the other. Ink grinned, and the two of them started up a massive game of tag using the portals created by the guns. The next world showed a home exactly like the one he knew, except everyone was switched around. He saw himself in a hoodie, acting lazy, and his brother energetic and in a scarf. Undyne was the captain of the Royal Guard instead of Alfie's, and Grilby owned the most popular restaurant in town. Ink told Sans that this was the first universe created in their particular multiverse, and that he and Error came from a specific timeline in this universe. At last, the two were in an air zone on the moon. All around them were nothing but stars.
Nothing like space for some proper stargazing.
Ink smiled to Sans, who was transfixed on them.
Papyrus would love this.
Sans told Ink.
He and I go stargazing all the time. He's more into the science behind them, but I think they're just beautiful. It's funny though. Those gems don't look like stars twinkle. I always thought real stars do too.
It depends on where you are. Being surrounded like this, though, is just as cool if you ask me.
He turned to Sans.
So, did you like seeing all those places today?
He asked.
It was fantastic. You really get to see all those universes?
Sans asked.
Them and more.
Ink told him.
I wish I had time to show you all of them.
Sans nodded.
You have a favorite?
A favorite?
Ink laughed a little.
Well, I love every single one of them. They're all like treasures, precious to those who live in them and to me. But if I was held at knife point and asked to choose a favorite, I'd have to say yours, if only because you live in it.
That's cheating!
Sans laughed, sitting up.
It's the truth!
Ink replied, shrugging, as he also sat up.
Don't get me wrong, every universe is amazing. But yours is the only one I have a close friend in. Other friends I've made don't get to know me the way you have. Like I said, you treat me like an equal.
Sans smiled, looking up at the stars.
I really do want to show this to Papyrus.
Ink felt his heart break. There had been a reason he'd done this after all. He wanted to make his last day with Sans something they both remember their whole lives. But he had to tell Sans the truth now.
That may not be possible.
Why not?
Sans turned and was startled to see huge tears rolling down Ink's face. Ink curled up, holding his knees close to his shaking body.
Ink, why are you crying?
Sans, there's something I have to tell you.
Sans could barely understand Ink through his tears.
I don't know how to break this to you, but Sans, I think there's something you didn't consider when you decided you wanted to permanently keep Error away.
You rain?
A broken voice interrupted them. We'll keep the ride in the anti-void short. We'll keep the ride in the anti-void short. We'll keep the ride in the anti-void short. Short. Why can I not say this?